What is up, guys? Welcome back into the Bluebloods. We got another big special guest on the docket for tonight. We got Texas Southern defensive backs coach Darren Garrigan with us. Coach DG, as he likes to be called. Coached at Incarnate Word, won a D2 national championship over at Texas A&M-Commerce, and now is at Texas Southern. Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show.
No, man, I appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely, Coach. So the first question. You look back through your career, what was like your entry into coaching? Did you always know you wanted to be a coach, or was there a certain event that happened in your career or something that really sparked the interest in wanting to be a coach somewhere?
It started out just being a kid, playing the game of football, and just being in sports. And I think every kid that grows up, thinks they're good enough to go to the league. So that was a dream originally, and just kind of playing football. I went to junior college at Lackawanna College, and then I went played at West Texas A&M. We won back-to-back conference championships, and I was an okay player. I started and rode the bench some, started. So I've kind of been kind of in and out the lineup, to be honest with you. Then I thought I was still good enough. And then I ended up playing arena football for 2 years for Tennessee Valley Vipers. And just kind of my last year, I just realized I wasn't that good of a player. And I just gave up the dream, to be honest with you. And I never thought about coaching. I was kind of in limbo. Those are things I talked about with the players about it. When you get done playing, what is your passion? What are you going to do? And I just kind of stumbled on a guy named Gary Wortham, was a coach. He actually just got the head coaching job at Freedom High School back in Virginia, where I'm originally from. So I kind of just stumbled on him, just kind of asked him some questions. He was like, "Man, just come on out and coach." And I was like, "All right, cool. I mean, I know I love the game. Let's do it." So I just kind of went out there, was dealing with the kids on like a 7-on-7 deal, and won and interviewed, and pretty much I kind of kickstarted my whole coaching career. So no, I didn't go into it with the plan of originally coaching like some guys do. And like I said, I thought I was a good player, but come to find out I wasn't.
You've had a extremely successful coaching career, to say the least. I mean, uh, the rings and the success that you've had is amazing. I want to start at Texas A&M Commerce. It's a program a lot of people are kind of getting familiar with. Just moved up to FCS, had a really good year for their first year moving into the Southland Conference.
Correct.
That D2 national championship team, though, it was one of the best teams in the country, one of the best teams in that program's history. What made that team so special?
To be honest with you, that was our fourth year. It was actually the head coach's fifth year. It was my fourth year there because I missed the first year when they got there, and I think they got there in 13. I think what made that group special is that a lot of those players were actually homegrown. They were high school kids. We had very little transfers at the time, and that was way before the transfer portal and all that. We did have some transfers. We had an OU guy. Actually, we had two OU guys. We had a Baylor guy. So we had some transfers. But for the most part, those are high school Division II players. And some of those guys, one of them starting right now for the Miami Dolphins, a guy named Kohu, and he's a great player. So we had a lot of guys that ended up playing at the next level. Another DB, Jalen Edwards Cooper, went to CFL. So I just think what made that team special is that we had time with those kids. We groomed them, and they were high school guys, so they bought in, and I think that's why we kind of pushed it over the hump a little bit that year, because the 3 years before we won back to back to back, like a three-peat conference championships, and we actually didn't win the conference championship when we won the national championship. So we lost to Midwestern. They won the conference, but we won the big game that matters the most. So I think what just made that team special is that we had a lot of high school players, and we got them going, and they were with us for a couple years. Like our starting safeties were like redshirt freshmen, so they redshirted the year before. So it was just we had time with those kids. It wasn't like it is now when you got to bring in 40 new transfers every year. So
You move on to Incarnate Word after that. You come on with Coach Morris, and I mean, Incarnate Word explodes onto the FCS scene. I mean, let's just be honest. No one knew. I always tell people my go-to trivia question if I want to win money is where's Incarnate Word at? Because if you're not an FCS guy, you're not going to know.
correct.
How was Incarnate Word? I just got done talking to Coach Killo last week, I've talked to him a little bit off camera about it, but I want to ask you, how was Incarnate Word able to experience so much success so quickly?
When we first got there in 18, I mean, it kind of reminded me of the staff we had at Commerce. We just had a whole bunch of young, hungry coaches, and they already had some pieces in place at the school. I mean, honestly, we had four guys from that 18 team that actually made it to the NFL. So they already had some pieces there. we just built some depth, and I just thought we brought in a culture offensively and defensively that it just kind of fit the players that we had, and we brought some pieces in. So I would think every place that I've been to, even starting back from East Central University in Ada, Oklahoma, we just kind of brought in staff that were young, hungry, and eager to learn, eager to work. So, and you see when we started to turn it around and got good, they still been doing good the whole time. They actually gotten better since Morris left and when we left. So I will probably say honestly, it's just they still have workers. I think even Clint hired a whole bunch of young guys or just guys that were just they're hungry. Even the DB coach he hired, I hired him when I was at Incarnate Word. He was a QCGA when I was there. So I think they're just keeping it going now. And you're right, no one even knows it's in San Antonio. So you will win some money on that trivia question. But I think just the motto is that we just brought everybody in that was just eager to learn and hungry. And I think we just flipped it quicker than we thought at least.
What was it about Texas Southern when you look at the program? I think it's an underrated program. Like I talk on the live show all the time, and you told me you watched the show a little bit. I always wonder, man, Texas Southern just looks like a sleeping giant in terms
Yeah.
of location and what they have behind the scenes. They have so much talent year in and year out, and being in the state of Texas is so much talent in that state. What was it about Texas Southern that drew you in as a job opportunity?
I mean, if you just want to be honest, I didn't have a job for 2 months when the head man actually left Incarnate Word, and they left me and the defensive coordinator and a couple other coaches go. I didn't have a job for 2 months. I happened to know Clarence McKinnell, who's been at the Power Five. He was Kevin Sumlin's right hand man, and then he actually went to Arizona with him. He was at U of H, so he's been in the game for a while. I met him in through passing and recruiting, and I kind of known him a little bit. Shot him a text and was like, "Hey man, I'm out of a job. You got something for me?" Boom, he ended up hiring me, and we kind of flipped it on defense a lot better than what there was in the past. But you are right, and I've seen you do a good job with HBCUs and kind of shedding light to it like Dion did when he was there. I think at the end of the day, our arrow is pointing up. They're going to install a new weight room that's being built as we speak. We got the new weight room. So I do think it is a sleeping giant, but I think we won 5 games last year. They haven't done that in a while. We should have won 7 games. I think this year we have a chance to contend for the SWAC and even the West and the whole thing. I think it's just having things in place. We have a great president. She puts a lot of time and effort into it, and we're getting some more money. So, and it is in Houston. You're in Texas. I do think a lot of places in Texas are sleeping giants. San Antonio. I mean, Austin. I mean, there's a lot of places in Texas, good high school football players and even transfers in universities. But I do think the arrow is pointing up for us because we're getting some of those things and getting some backing from some donors and alumni. So we're doing a 20 times better job than maybe was in the past. And I do think the arrow's going up.
It was the defense took a big step up, especially the secondary, and a lot of that came from a guy even had All-American consideration in Isaiah Hamilton. I know he
Mm-hmm.
ended up transferring this offseason. We'll get into that, but
Yeah.
what made him the leader of your secondary, and what made him so special as a player?
I think when we got there, when I got there, I think he already had the talent. I think he already had the tools in place. He already had the ability. He really had everything you wanted in a DB. And that's when I got there, we kind of switched our philosophy on defense a little bit, and we ended up being more aggressive. I come from the tree, and I'm still trying to grow my own tree, but I come from the tree of just coaching very aggressive on and off the field, trying to always make a play. Sometimes you might get beat, but at the end of the day, if you make more plays than you give up, then that's a success for me. So I think I kind of just put them on the game of just trying to teach them how to make plays within whatever you're doing, and I think that helped the whole defense. And I do think the secondary ended up playing well. We actually just lost our safeties coach, Justin Sanders. He went to Charlotte, so we had some success. We're just a believer in being aggressive and just kind of switching some things up. But he was a leader for a defense, but we had a lot of guys that ended up playing really well overall, and I think everybody just bought in, and I think that's where the arrow is pointing up. Everybody's kind of rallying behind the coaches and some of their teammates. So I know we'll probably talk about recruiting here in a little bit about just the portal, and that's crazy and everything. So yeah, it's just how it goes these days.
And that's what I was going to ask you. I'm happy for Isaiah. I've had him on the show before, man. I love the guy. And I really do think he's a pro talent. He should play in the league one day. But it's the sad truth, and I've talked about this on the show a lot. A lot of FCS programs are seeing when guys have breakout years,
Yep.
they get opportunities elsewhere. One, what was the behind the scenes? Did he just come to you and say, "Coach, I want to explore my options"? And then two, How is it for an FCS coaching staff? How do you manage that? Like when you see a guy trending upwards, you see a Cam Ward, you see an Isaiah Hamilton, and there's countless other examples I could throw out there. How do you approach it in terms of we got to keep this kid here?
I think how the times have changed. I think even the Power Fives have the problem these days because, I mean, I know Alabama and Georgia probably have some guys leaving too, and that's the best of the best. So I just think that the climate's change. I think it goes both ways, though. I mean, there's players that have a great season at the G5 or the FCS level, and they just want bigger opportunities. But it's the same thing goes for coaches. So I don't really knock, or I don't really get mad at the players. I think it just matters on how you do it. As long as you're just being honest with them. But at the end of the day, I think that's just how the profession is with the players and the kids. I mean, if you get a bigger opportunity, then you should leave, unless it's just one of those deals where it's even, is stuff like that. Then you just might have to pick the best fit. But there's no right or there's no wrong reason. I think just when guys have success and they're doing really well, I think they just want more, which could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. So every situation they leave doesn't always equal success. But I think the only thing that's troubling these days in college football, and Traylor talked about it at UTSA. I try to follow him. I know some guys on staff, they do a great job. I think it's to the point where if the coaches are reaching out to players and they're still on their roster, I think that's where the game is getting shady and dirty a little bit. And that's where that's unfair to the coaches and the player when you're getting hit up by coaches and you're already still playing there. If they just jump in the portal and, they get some offers, and cool. I mean, I understand, I respect it, but that's where the game was a little sideways a little bit, but it is what it is. You just got to understand the landscape now.
Yeah, I think the biggest story, at least from the FCS, was Tucker Kraft, tight end over at South Dakota State, got like a $2 to $5 million offer
Yep.
to enter the portal and turned it down, by the way, which is
I
props to him and
Yep.
yeah, whoever he talked to. That's crazy to me. But coach, a question I've gotten a lot this year coming into the year, they see there's been a lot of defensive guys from Texas Southern leave recently. A Michael Badajo, who is doing great things over in the XFL and some other leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Hamilton transfers out. Who's next on that defense that you're seeing this offseason as y'all get closer to spring? Who are some guys that we should look out for this year, especially in the defensive backfield where you coach, one-on-one with them?
Yeah, that's crazy, Zach. Can you still see me? Can you still see me as I'm typing this stuff in?
No.
Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull up our roster and I'm going to kind of run it down for you. Is that cool? Give me like
Yeah,
1
cool
second.
with me.
Because I do agree. We do got some players that really have a chance to have success. And I'm just going to tell you right here from the jump. I just want to be able to make sure the beauty about it is I'm going to go with the first one, and he's a defensive guy. And he's actually our linebacker coach. One of his proteges, Jacob Williams, our linebacker. I think he's elite. He's quick. He's fast. Probably doesn't look like a linebacker. Looks more like a safety, but he's really, really good. I think we have a safety coming back, CJ. He's a really good football player. We have Ja'Cory Benjamin, who was a corner that started kind of in and out. He got hurt a little bit. I think he can be the next. I guess I don't even want to say Isaiah, but he came in with Isaiah. He's just as talented. So I think he has a chance. Our quarterback got hurt at the end of the season, but he's going to be back and he'll be just fine. Body, he's a great player. So if you want to be honest, like even on the recruiting channel, when you ask that question, we have a lot of returners. We have a whole bunch of receivers. All our running backs are back. Another running back named Ja'Cory. I mean, he's a good football player. So to be honest with you, we didn't really lose that much. And I think that's the beauty of our team. We didn't really lose that much. So I think we're just going to get better, stay healthy. And I think the sky's the limit. But we have a lot of football players. I can really go through the whole roster. I think everybody has a chance to contribute, to be honest with you.
One of the biggest pickups, and it came in your room. A lot of Texas Southern fans have told me Xavier Player out of UTSA is there. I mean, they're expecting big things. I mean, they're like you're saying, don't want to put any expectations. I mean, they're saying that he is Isaiah Hamilton level and is going to be the next guy in that room. Well, what was his recruitment like? What do you love about his game, and why do you think the fans are getting so hype about him stepping into the program?
Well, the crazy part about it is I've been recruiting Xavier Player for about 4 years. When I was at Incarnate Word, he was at Steele High School. I offered him a long time ago. I've been on that kid. He ended up going to Oklahoma State. He left Oklahoma State and when he left Oklahoma State, I was recruiting him again at Incarnate Word. Then he goes to junior college. I think he goes to Blinn, if I'm not mistaken. And then I tried to get him out of junior college. Didn't work out. He ended up going to UTSA, San Antonio. It makes sense. So then he went there. He actually had a solid career there, played pretty well. He's a good, talented player. I've always known about him. He got good size, good measurables, can run. And then when he left UTSA, I'm back again, recruiting him again for the fourth time. So I've been recruiting that kid and his family for a long time. They got a great family. He's a great kid. So I think he has a chance to come in and have the same, if not better, success. I think he has 2 years to play. So I think the fans and the people, I mean, he was like actually rated the highest players like we signed all year at FCS, like the whole FCS. Yeah. So he has a great mindset. He's a great kid. He loves to communicate. So I think he has a chance to have success. We signed a kid out of San Jose State, safety, Gino. So there's just a lot of upside, I think, coming from what it's been in the past. And like you said, it's like, man, they got some things going on over there. Let me just see, can they get over the hump? So.
And you kind of beat me to it with the player comment too, because that was my next question is with the transfer portal, with JUCO recruiting, how important is it to not burn connections even if you miss on a kid the first time? Like how important is it to stay in touch, keep those good connections, and just in case you have to circle back around and re-recruit somebody?
You know, I that's a good question because how I view it is if you recruit a kid, and I think that's why I had a good relationship with player, even though I didn't maybe talk to him for a couple of years as he's playing at other schools. I think comes down to is how do you initially recruit him? Like an example would be like UTSA got one of the guys at Incarnate Word, Elliot Davidson. I recruited that guy for years. I think it matters on how you recruit him when you first get with them. And I think they always remember how you recruited them. So if you were like, I'm a very blunt, I'm a very direct, I'm a very in-your-face recruiter. So when player, got back in the portal, when I hit him up, he already knew how I was going to approach the situation. He already knew what I was going to, do or say or be. So I think that's important. I think it's how you initially recruit the kid, and then you can end up getting that kid on the back burner. But it's all about how you do it first. Like if you didn't really recruit him hard, or you didn't really have a good relationship, then it's going to be hard for him to go to you if he wants to get in the portal. So I think it just matters about who you are as a person. I think that's where sometimes coaches go wrong. They're trying to recruit, but I try to tell people you're a person first. I just think that's just people forget that. Like I'm a human being. Like I got to pay bills. Like I watch TV. Like I work out. Like I'm a normal person. So when I recruit the kids, I talk to them as a human, not as a coach. As a human, as a person, as an individual. That's how I recruit them. And some people like it, some people don't. But that's just how I operate. So I don't really give them the bells and whistles like some guys do, which I'm not a big fan of. But they do it, and it works for them, I guess.
Hey, you never know. We saw it. It works out sometimes, but there's plenty of examples, even in your state of all the bells and whistles not working out very well with the missed
Right.
bowl game for a very prominent program. But looking at the recruiting trail in general, a lot of people don't know the inner workings of recruiting. Like if they're not in media who cover a lot of recruiting, if they're not a previous coach, if they haven't been recruited at the highest level, they don't know how it works. So, coach, just what is it like at Texas Southern? Do the positional coaches have a lot of freedom? Because there's some programs where positional coaches have to run everything through the head guy, like you have to get a bunch of approval to recruit kids. Or does Coach McKinley kind of let you guys say, this is your room? If you like a kid, go and get them?
Coach McCain does a great job of kind of having everybody chip in a little bit because, if I recruit a guy and I like him but nobody else likes him, if he ends up being let's just say he ends up being a bad player, that affects everybody on the staff. So I come from different trees where the position coach just does it. He offers, and then the defensive coordinator will do it, or you don't have to go through a lot of checks and balances. I wouldn't say we have to go through a billion checks and balances, but I think it's just a respect factor. Like I'm not going to go to a school, offer a receiver that our receiver coach has never seen. That'd be unfair to him. So I think it's about just communicating and dialoguing and just saying, hey, coach, I like this player. What do you think of him? And then we'll meet as a staff and we'll talk a little bit. So I think it's more about communication through the whole staff to find out if you think he's good enough, or that's good too because the other coaches can pick your brain about why you like things. Like a lot of people ask me, like, what do you like in the DB? I just tell them, like, can he move and does he have ball skills? Everything else I can figure out. But those are kind of things I look for. So I think it's just communicating with the staff. And then if everybody likes him, or at least maybe half of them like him, but the position coach like him, he should worthy to get an offer. It just depends, really.
You kind of, I think you addressed two of the things in my next question because that was going to be my question because we heard today Nick Saban give his list of reasons why he didn't recruit Brock Purdy. And we've heard coaches say, if your hands aren't that big, if your arms aren't this long, we're not giving you the offer. Do you have a checklist that you're looking for? Or is it, it really just depends on the player and there's a bunch of different factors that work together in like a composite type grade?
Yeah, that's a great question because I got that on another deal I was doing. Here's how I would say: the guys that are at the Power Five, they can be so picky. It's like the NFL a little bit. The NFL is like that initially, but at the end of the day, if you're a good player, though, you'll play. But at the Power Five levels, well, I guess with all the money on the line, you have to have certain requirements. You have to be this tall. Your hands got to be this big. Your feet's got to be this big. Your shoulders and arms got to be this big. They have so many uh, check boxes that they have to have, probably because their pool is a billion 5 stars or 4 stars or whatever the case may be. But I've always said it. I'm more of a believer in coaches do a better job or do a great job when they're working more with less. So I think at the D2, FCS, D3, JC, and sometimes even the G5 is that you have to find something uh, more into depth with the player rather than the Power Five guy. If you're not 6'3", like a corner, like example of corner, I coach DBs. Like if you're Nick Saban, he's like, I'm not taking a corner, or just anybody that's at the Power Five, I'm not taking a corner who's under 6 foot. I mean, but at the end of the day, Revis was 5'10", 5'11", and he was damn near Hall of Famer. He's one of the best DBs of all time in the league. So even Aaron Donald, I think Georgia or Kirby Smart, they didn't recruit Aaron Donald because he was too small, but he's probably the best D tackle in the league. I just think you have to find something different. Like I don't know if I have a true check box, but I have, if you can just simply move, like I like how you move and you have ball skills, and what type of person are you? Can you communicate? Can you handle me being hard on you every day? Can you handle me just having a conversation with you about life or football? So my check boxes are probably a little bit different. I just want to know, can they move? Do they got ball skills? And then probably first, those are 2 and 3. The first one's probably like, can you communicate? Can you hold a conversation? There's like little things like that I think that are more important at this level of ball because you have to do so much more with maybe he might not have the measurables, but he's still a good player. Like I said, the guy that's playing for the Dolphins, he's 5'8", maybe 5'9", but he's short, stocky, can run. But no Power Fives on him, no FCS was on him. So I don't have as detailed of the check box as all the other coaches because they have everything handed to them, and some of them don't even recruit. They just give them a list and say, here's your 20 guys, go recruit them. We got to go find them, talk to them, recruit them. We actually have to work with them hand in hand. We got to do more with it than they do.
Right. And, I talked to former Indy Community College head coach Jason Brown on the show too from Last Chance U. And we kind of talked about scouting and how, man, scouting has become such a, debated topic in terms of player rankings.
Yep.
And I get questions on the show all the time. You have no idea. How did Cameron Ward have 0 stars coming out of high school? How did this player have 2 stars coming out of high school? And we see the NFC Championship rosters. ESPN does it every year. Look
Yep.
at all the 3, 2 no stars that are playing in the potential Super Bowl. What do you think is the issue with scouting? Is it just there's not enough scouts for how many players? Is it late development? Like, what's your take on it as a coach?
Is because everybody's looking for the perfect player. That's the problem. And I think that's what somewhat bothers me. And Bill Belichick talks about it like, and I know they struggled the last 2 years of that Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at some of the players that have success with him on defense, especially, like he always talks about what the player can do for him, not what they can't do. So I think a lot of times if all these coaches are looking for the perfect player, he's got to be this size, he's got to weigh this much. His hand, like I said, his hand's got to be this big. Like they're looking for the perfect person. I'm not looking for the perfect person. Everywhere I've been, we've had to scrape. We got to get down and dirty. We got to find something that maybe all the 20 million schools missed. So I just think it's so tough, man. I just think it's a great question. I just think that Yeah, how would I explain it? You just have to find a way that you have to find something that no one else likes. Like, okay, the guy's 5'9", 20 other schools don't like it, but I'll deal with the 5'9" because he got long arms. Or, he's 5'9", but he has a long stride, which means he can still run. So it's really difficult, but I do think just everybody wants the perfect player. And I think it's unfair. Every coach just wants the ideal situation. That's impossible unless you're at the best school ever. But if you look at the league, and you made a point on it, like if you look at the league cares about that initially. Like they want all the pretty stuff at first. But then when it gets to the nitty gritty, guys get hurt, guys get opportunities, then they don't care. Like you talking about the quarterback, the 49ers, it's the same deal. Like nobody wanted him. I did see the same thing on Twitter. Nick Saban said he was terrible, but he's starting quarterback in the league. Good system, good coaching. He's taking it. So I just think there's so much more than just this is a 6'5" guy. You need to go get him. There's just so much more to coaching and evaluating than people like to discuss because it's so easy to say he can't do this, he can't do that. It's so easy to say that.
From your experience, because I get, listen, you have no idea the calls and the comments I get about politics behind the scenes.
Oh,
In your opinion, how much do politics really play a part in who's getting the pub, who's getting the stars, and who's getting the push on the recruiting trail?
I think the pubs are very true. I think the politics are very true. Same thing goes for coaching. There's always inner workings of it. I give you a prime example. I'm really close, and you probably hear this name before, the Texada family, Tejada family. They had a starting corner at TCU. Another one was at Baylor. The other one right now is at North Texas. All three of them are Division I corners. And a lot of those, on all three of them, didn't get highly recruited. They're all short, quote unquote, undersized, but they're all have made all conference. All three of his sons, I'm really close to the family. All three of the sons made all conference. All three are two of them made it to the league. The North Texas guy is gonna make it to the league. And they were part of that tree. They just were never on that good side of people. And I think the same thing goes for coaches, same thing goes for players. Like you get this stigma early on and then they just ride the wave. Like if you get one offer early, then everybody's like, oh, he's amazing. He's great. Let's offer him again. And then he gets 20 million offers. So I do think the politics, I do think how people are getting pushed. But at the end of the day, everybody kind of sees through it. Like there's been some guys that I did not take at my Division II level, my Incarnate Word at Texas Southern. Those guys that I didn't take that ended up going bigger than me just because I didn't see something that they saw. And sometimes they had good careers, sometimes they didn't. So it's just there's a wave that people do get on, and they do get on the good side. It's the same thing going with coaches. Like I was actually talking about it with a coach today, with somebody that I ran into. Like, how does a coach 1 year go from being the hottest coach in the market, a genius, great with relationships and great with people, then all of a sudden the next year he's the worst and gets fired? How did he drop off so much? Like, did he just all of a sudden forgot how to coach football? All of a sudden he's no longer building relationships. So I'm a little torn when that just all of a sudden you're the best candidate to then all of a sudden the next year you're the worst candidate. So that's the same thing about going on the waves and you're just riding it and you're getting a good name. So it's a very difficult profession. It's a very politic-driven profession. And some of those things do matter, even though it shouldn't.
Right. I hate to say, because I mean, with me, at one time I was working at On Three. I was still working there, but like I was mostly doing Power Five stuff, and like I really was not in tune with it. But now that I'm covering a lot of FCS recruiting, man, I'm looking at some of the film, looking at some of the stats and the accolades, and I'm like, how does this kid have 6 offers and they're from North Alabama, Lindenwood, and UT Martin? And he's won 4. Like I did an article on the kid, 4 straight state titles out of Thompson in Alabama, was second on the team in tackles and tackles for loss behind 5-star Peter Woods. The kid has like 8 offers. Like it makes no sense. And the film is immaculate. I'm like, I don't get it. I never will. But hey, it, like you said, those players, are the ones that are probably gonna be playing on Sundays somewhere, regardless of where they go. But I want to get into you as a coach. What's I want to say what's next, because you're at Texas Southern. I don't think we don't know what's coming in the future, but what's your aspirations? Is it defensive coordinator? Is it eventually head coach, or or right now you're just going with the flow? You're good with where you're at.
I get that question asked a lot because I've been doing this for 14 years now. I was just a defensive coordinator at this Dream Bowl game last week in Dallas. Great event. great host. It was good. To me, the higher the level that you go, the higher position you go, you end up coaching less. So honestly, would I like to be a defensive coordinator if it presented? Yeah, maybe, but that doesn't make me happy all the way. I would probably rather be a head coach. I take more pride in being a head coach and being more of a CEO, hiring guys, just getting kids going overall, getting the staff going, coaching the coaches out. That actually makes me more happy than just being a coordinator. I would rather be in it with the kids, and I'd rather just be a DB coach for the rest of my life at the highest level that I can, which my dream is to be in the NFL. I did 2 internships in the NFL, Detroit Lions with Jim Caldwell, and I did with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, and then I almost got the job with the Chiefs last year. And two of my good buddies, one of them is my mentor, Al Harris, coaches DB with the Cowboys, and another guy named Charlie Burks. He's actually with the Bengals right now, coaching corners, and he's had a great career. So my end goal would be the NFL as a position coach, but being a coordinator doesn't really excite me. Would I be ready for it? Yes. Can I do it? Yes. Can I motivate guys? Yes. I take pride in that, but I like being in it with the kids and being in the position groups and talking that style of play. But being a head coach probably be a little bit more intriguing to me because, I mean, even the guys that I hired, Coach Greg, who's with me at UIW, went with DJ to Texas State. I hired him. I'm happy that he's having success. So I enjoy that process probably more than actually just coordinating defense, to be honest with you.
Hey, that's amazing to hear because I think that a lot of people get confused, especially because a lot of coaches coming up don't hop on a show like this, and a lot of people don't get to know them, so they're just like, oh, they don't care about the kids; they're just in it for the elevation and the money. And so, like to hear you say that, I think that shows why you've had a lot of success at all the stops that you have. And the final one before we get into more of just your philosophy and stuff, has there been any offers, or if not, like what are you looking for in a real opportunity? Like what would be some factors you would have to really consider?
In this profession, I used to, and this is where I'm gonna start dropping some nuggets now and some knowledge. But in this profession, when I was growing up in the profession and trying to be a coach, I thought the profession was if you put your head down, you go to work, and you have success, that people will come acknowledge that and try to hire you. That ain't the case because I've seen so many instances where situations where like you're doing everything right, you're having success, but they're like, oh, you're doing it at the lower level, you can't do it at this high level. There's always a knock. Same thing in recruiting. And then it goes to like, okay, I've seen coaches that have had a terrible career performance wise in their position or get a bad name or whatever the case may be. They just don't have success everywhere they go. Those guys continue to move up the ladder. So there is no right or wrong way to get the next gig. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So the path to me is very weird because it's really not even about what you know at all. It's about who you know. Like who you know gets you in the door, but then they say like what you know maintains the door. Yeah, that is true, but man, it's a very weird, difficult profession because you just never know if you're doing it right and you don't know if you're going to be doing it wrong. And you could be the worst person. And there's coaches in this profession that are bad people and bad coaches, and those guys continue to climb the ladder the whole time. And I used to be like, well, why are they climbing the ladder and I can't? I just kind of in the last couple of years when I didn't have a job after Incarnate Word let me go, I was just like, I was in a depressed phase. But then I started to realize like, I'm just going to put my head down. I'm going to work. And if somebody come get me, great. Or they give me an opportunity, great. If they don't, oh, well. So I just learned how to get comfortable within my skin. And that's why I like doing these things. I like giving knowledge. I like talking to people that I don't know. And you're giving information. You're being vulnerable. You're being honest. You're being blunt. A lot of those things I love to do. But a lot of those things hurt me in this profession because I'm blunt. I'm direct. I'll say this. I'll say that. Like, it's not even in a disrespectful way. I think sometimes they want you to act a certain way to get to this level. And it's unfair because you have to act this way to get to that level. But you see somebody else acting this way and they get to that level. So you're just like, well, why is he get to go and I don't? So I just learned how to really just not care as much anymore. And I said it the last couple of weeks. And I've been talking to my staff about it. I'm just going to invest and try to do the best I can for the kids, and just hope somebody sees that and offers me something if they do. But I just learned to stop caring about the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it or whatever. I just think when you worry about those things, then you're always worrying about what's my next gig, what's my next stop. Um, I'm having success here, but he's not, but he's moving up. Why is that? So I just learned how to be more comfortable within my skin as I got older. And I think that probably helps me, but I'll be honest with you, it probably hurts me in this profession because certain people want you to be a certain way. And I'm just not that guy. Like, I'm not a yes, sir guy every time someone talks. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't want to get a job that way. I think you have to have these dialogues. You got to have conversation, or maybe you want to be the devil's advocate and be like, I don't know if you want to do it that way. Let's try it this way, or just whatever. Have open dialogue. So it's probably why I'm not a Power Five coach, or I think of what happened. But I've always been happy where I've been at. I can't complain.
No, and I think a lot of people who at least hear this are going to relate to that because I think if you're going to take a position, if you're going to, quote unquote, try to elevate your career, man, you want to be somewhere where you're wanted, where you're comfortable, and where you can be your real. At the end of the day, you can't elevating without being able to be yourself, man. Just seems like a
I've
that's
seen it.
that's not yeah, that's just not what you wanna do, but coach, I wanna talk about a little bit about your defensive back room and the relationships within. I was going through your social media, the pictures with the team after every game, multiple different ones, and they all look like it's like a brotherhood in that room. How do you build that, and what's the steps throughout the off season to make that room as close and tight knit as it looks from an outsider's perspective?
We had a meeting uh, with some people here last year. I think the thing you do as a coach, and I actually got asked this question by Tim McCarty, used to be the head coach at East Central. He was assistant head coach at Kansas State. He asked me when I was a GA, my first question, he was like, "It's part of your job to motivate these kids." And I was like, "Damn right it is. That's our job as coaches, to motivate them." So, to be honest with you, I think how you get the group to play together or be together is you have a level and you have a standard of accountability, and you coach them hard. And what I mean by coach hard, yeah, they're gonna say I cuss and do all that, but I think you have a standard about, hey, this is how things should look, this is how things should be. If you want to do it this way, I can coach you this way. You want to do it that way, I can coach you that way. So really, I just call giving them a toolbox. But I think the main thing, and through my whole career, is when you take those pictures and they seem so happy. I think they see the fruits of the labor at the end of it. Like, coach has been hard on me since Monday to Friday, and then we had success on Saturday. That's why the coach is so hard on me. That's why we're having this success. And then on top of that, you give them confidence. And I brought it up to the president here at TSU, and she really, I think, understood what I meant. Is like, you got to install confidence in these kids, just like how I have to install confidence in myself. And I'm like, I'm good enough to coach here. I am good enough to coach at another place. I'm good enough for this situation. I learned that from my defensive coordinator, Justin Deason. He's big into the Bible. I'm not as big into it as he is. I'm trying to get my way, and I'm trying to learn more as he teaches me. It's just that these kids are good enough. So I coach them hard, but I also install confidence within them, and I think they see it. They don't see it at first. No kid in America sees anything you tell them at first. They really don't. They all get mad. They don't see it. But whenever they do see it, the light bulb hits and they're like, oh, damn, I got success now. This is what coach was talking about. So I think that's what ends up happening. Like, I can probably go through all the course of my players that I've ever had. They're going to say to the T, DG is hard. DG sometimes is actually a jerk. He's going to joke with me. He's always going to be blunt with me. He's always going to tell me when I got a good day and I got a bad day. And they don't like it at first. But after the time, through the course of the season, years go by, they understand it, they respect it, and then they're like, damn, this is what coach is talking about. So I think it's just communicating with them. It doesn't matter what type of communication from, just a simple text, simple calling. And one main nugget that I would do, and I like it because when I get these messages, sometimes I'll just randomly text a player and be like, man, your time is coming. You're going to have a good game this game. I can't wait to watch you play football. I can't wait to watch you play this weekend. To me, I think the kids love it. They're like, damn, man, Coach Will, he really messes with me, even though he's hard on me Monday through Thursday. Like, he was a jerk to me all week, but like, man, he really enjoys it. Just like how you would like a text message from a random podcast dude and be like, man, I really love your show.
Yeah.
Like, I would love somebody to text me randomly and be like, man, I see you doing a great job, BG, man. Keep it up. Like, so to me, those little things like that, man, that make a player believe so much. And I told you, it can be the simplest text. Man, I can't wait to see you out there in practice field and play some one-on-one. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to cuss, but like, oh, damn, Coach want to watch me play this practice. So I think a lot of those little nuggets, players love it. And I think I like sending it, but I also like receiving it too. I think everybody's looking for validation. I don't care what coach says. All these coaches with these big monies, they be the most looking for the validation because they don't sometimes believe in themselves. You'd be amazed how many people make so much money but don't believe in themselves. They need to hear. I mean, like, so believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, but you do sometimes want validation from your coach that, hey, man, he's looking forward to watching me this year. Like Ja'Cory Benjamin, I think he has all conference talent. He played really well as a freshman. I think he can be the next guy. That's an example. We have another corner, San Antonio, who I recruited at Incarnate Word, a guy named Harris. Like, those guys have a chance to have success. I'm going to be hard on them, but I'm also going to show them some love. So I think it's a tough love relationship that I think you have to be able to coach them hard and be tough on them, but you have to love them too. You got to do a little bit of both. You can't just be one way.
And you coach one of the most difficult positions to play. Listen,
Uh,
I played O-line. I argue we're a close second just because of all the mental side of playing offensive
yep.
line. But the mentality to play offensive line is a different mentality than to play cornerback, which is a different mentality than playing linebacker. I've talked to the best corners across the FCS. I've talked to Caleb Culp. I've
Yep.
talked to
Oh,
Justin Ford. I've talked to the best defensive backs across the FCS, and they all talk about the different swagger and the confidence and the mentality you have to carry yourself with playing defensive back. How do you instill that in your guys?
I do think quarterback's number one, clearly. I think number two is
Yeah.
DB because you're always by yourself. You're always on an island, and sometimes you don't have help. I think how you install it is just a belief. It's real simple. You're good enough to play the position. You're good enough to be by yourself. But the coach also has to have confidence too. So what I try to tell the kids is like, yeah, I'm gonna coach you hard, but I also know what I'm talking about. I also played the position, so I understand what they're thinking and feeling at least. I didn't play in the league, so I don't have that high level success, but I have the same mindset as a player as them at that position. So um, I think just the key is that just letting them know, like, hey, you can do this. And it might take you a while to get it, but once you get it, it's going to click. But you have to kind of have confidence as you're teaching them. It's just like how players see when you're coaching them and they know you don't know your stuff, they're going to call you out. That's how the kids operate these days. So I think once you know your stuff and you feel confident presenting it, oh, they'll believe you and they'll run through a brick wall for you. So I just think a lot of those things is not as hard as everybody say, but you do have to install that, hey, man, this is what we're going to do. And then you kind of show them proof. Like when I first got to Texas Southern, like, they're like, well, who are you? I went through my old previous film, but like, man, this is what I've used to. Like a lot of things you see from my players, they're going to play fast. I recruited Caleb Cup and his family, great kid. Like, you're going to see guys playing fast, not thinking that much and just being aggressive. Those are things you're going to see fast, not thinking that much and being aggressive. And I just install confidence within them that they can do it. Even when they get beat or even when they do things bad, they can still do it. And I think that's what probably the first thing I do when I get to any program. I just install that confidence first.
And the final two questions, coach. One, what are the room expectations? What are you looking for from the secondary, from your defensive backs going into 2023? Do you guys have a set, list of goals? Do you have any accomplishments you want that defensive back room to have at the end of next season?
I've never been a believer. A lot of guys do, and they have all these sayings. I never, a lot of guys, I call them PowerPoint dudes. I'm not big into that. I think the only thing I expect the guys to do on a daily basis is communicate, number one. I don't care what the situation is. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you see on the field. Let me know what's happening off the field. So number one will be communication. That's what I want. Probably the second one is I want them to not overthink any call, any coverage, or any situation. We play a position where you have to react. So that's probably the number two. Like, I just want them to be out there and loose, not think, and let's just go. Don't be scared to be wrong, you know. And then probably the last one to be is whatever you're doing, I want you to try to make a play. So when you teach them that they're not going to be wrong, or don't be scared to be wrong, don't be scared to get beat, is what some guys say, is that go be aggressive and go make the play. I would always say to the kids, either before or after the game, like, be the reason why we win the game. Don't just be out there playing and we win and you're just like, no, I did okay. Like, be the reason why we're winning. Make a huge tackle. Go make a huge interception. Like, everybody wants to be the reason why you win, because selfishly, that's what people want, especially as a player, especially as a coach. Like, you want to go out there and be like, man, my guys did really well this game. Shit. So that's why we won. My guys played, to the high level. So I think you just want to tell them that, like, be the reason why we win. Don't be the reason why we lose now. That means you're just giving up bombs over Baghdad. You're giving up a lot of things. Like, so I don't have a lot of those cliches and all that type of stuff. We do have a nickname. Our nickname last year was Dead End. A lot of the guys just took that on. And, when you're going to come to secondary, you come into a dead end. You can't go nowhere. So every year we kind of have a theme of the nickname or the brand name. But the standard's just real simple. Communicate, don't think that much, and play fast. I try to keep it as simple as can be. A lot of coaches hate that because they try to give me all these words and big words. I don't even know how to spell half these big words. I'm just not a believer in that.
Oh man, that was great. You were like, listen, I don't need all the big words. Just give me the mindset. And the final question: you guys are actually coming in this season. You guys were one game away from going to the SWAC championship last year, so the expectations are higher than they have been in a long time at Texas Southern. What is the mindset of you and the coaching staff, and what you're putting? What's your message to the fans on what the expectations are for the overall program of Texas Southern this season?
I think, like I said, man, we should have won the last game of the season and put us in the SWAC championship. We beat all the Louisiana schools last year. We just lost some games that we shouldn't have lost. I think the word is going to be, and I think the head man might have already said it, but the word is going to be finish, because there were times where we played really well, but we didn't finish. So to me, what I'm probably going to tell my guys in the room is we need to finish. And whatever you start, you need to finish, which will be a game. Like, you need to start the game really well, but you need to finish the game really well. Like the last game of the season, we started well, but we didn't finish. So I think the motto, this year is that we won 5 and we should have won 7. Now, I think the goal should be coming in winning the West Division and put yourself in a position to where you're going to the SWAC championship. And I think all that's in front of us with a lot of the things that we got: the new locker room, the new weight room, same staff coming back besides maybe 1 or 2 guys, same players coming back, another year in the system. So, yeah, I can't say the pressure's on, but you're right. The expectations have gone higher, but you also want that. So I'm going to tell the players also, when I get off the road recruiting and all that stuff, is that you kind of want this pressure. Last year, no one thought we were going to do anything. Now, you want to kind of have that where, like, I can't say the bullseye on your back, but you want to have people be like, man, I'm about to go see what Texas Southern doing right now. Now, then you have to rise to the occasion, because if not, then they're going to be like, well, they're just the same old school. So I think we can. I want to say I know we can, but we have to prove that we can do it, and we got to finish.
Man, I know expectations are sky high. I know a lot of people are excited for what you guys are doing. Coach, you gave me an hour of your time. I know National Signing Day is coming up next week, man. So I really, really do appreciate you hopping on the show, man. Let people know where they can follow you on social media, man, and just keep up with what's going on in Coach DG's life.
I'm getting older, but I do know Twitter's a big deal. I think you can get a lot of news. I think you can get a lot of information. It's real easy to follow me, just TSU DB Coach. It'll pop right up. I put a lot of things out there, either with the players, the program. I'm big into hip hop, so you'll see a lot of hip hop lyrics or hip hop words, just to kind of get me through the day, motivating. But I do have one, like, how would I word it, like a spin ball for you, like, Ask a random question that you think either people want to know or
Hmm.
questions that you think sometimes coaches are scared to answer.
Ooh.
It can be
That,
random. You know, sometimes a lot of people play secrets
yeah.
and be any little deal like, man, maybe I should have asked him, or maybe I did ask this coach's question. He kind of dodged around it. Like a couple months ago, I got asked about the Dion deal. I know we're past Dion now, but when he was leaving Jackson State, I got a question. That's just kind of how it felt. But maybe something that you think that you like, damn, coaches ain't really gonna say that, or they're not gonna think this, or just anything. So it's kind of putting you on the spot a little bit too.
Ooh. So a lot of the show, we got a lot of SWAC fans that watch the show, and I think they're all going to be tuned into this. I'm gonna have to edit this and put it up front, so people definitely can see because we've been on here for an hour. But who do you think is the biggest threat in the SWAC next season for what you want to do in terms of winning the SWAC?
Oof, wasn't expecting that question. You know, I will say this about the SWAC. Before I got to the SWAC, I didn't think highly of it, and I don't think a lot of people did. But now being in it for a year, seeing how it operates, seeing how they recruit, man, I'll be honest with you. You can take Florida A&M, you could take PV, you can take us. Really, you can probably take every team in our league and put them in any other league, and I bet you we'll be just as good or damn near better. And I say that because I've been in the Southland Conference for years. You know, I was there for 4 years. So they got Houston Christian, they got Southeastern and Carnival. Like, to me, if you put us in any of those leagues, any SWAC school, we could compete and win the championship there. So I think the misconception is that these teams can't play at these teams. I just disagree with that because I've seen the talent. You know, Dion was in there, they had talent, we got talent. And you've even seen kids jump in the portal from the SWAC, go higher too. So I think everybody really in our league is good enough to play any other league. And I can stamp that and be confident saying that. Like, even I know Incarnate Word was great last year, but I think there was teams in our league that can make it a good game or maybe win. You just never know. So I just think the brand of football, like we competed with UTSA up until like maybe the last, you know what I mean? Like we competed versus North Texas. So I just think a lot of teams, I think all the teams are good enough and they have good enough players to jump in another league and compete. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with that. I know, with the Southland argument, a lot of people got caught because I was telling people this year because there's the whole FAMU
Yep.
playoff debate, and I was like, this year I don't think this year's Southeastern Louisiana team was as good as last year's,
I agree. Fully agree.
and if that because that was probably going to be the first round matchup. If FAMU gets him,
Yep.
Montana doesn't. Montana was probably the last team in. FAMU's probably traveling to Southeastern. I think FAMU beat Southeastern, even though Southeastern did beat Idaho. Listen, they played a hell of a
Yep.
game. Zai Alexander is just that guy. That was at that game,
I
and
remember him.
Zai is a problem.
Yep.
And I really do think FAMU matched up really well with Southeastern. Now, you know this, Coach. Once you get past the first round, it's just who you draw because you can get unlucky like Delaware, and if you get like a South Dakota State, there might not be much you can do in that type of matchup. Or like Southeastern last year got sent to James Madison. That's a brutal second round matchup on the
Yeah.
road.
We play FAM this season, so I think that's going to be a big game. And I do agree with you because they made it to the playoffs when we made it to the playoffs a couple years ago, and I know they played Southeast, and I do agree they had that quarterback who was really good.
Yeah, Cole Kelly.
Yeah, he's really good, and he dices up to him, and he's elite. So it's funny about the playoffs because I know that there's a lot of saying about that. There's a lot of debate about that. But I think they look at your whole course of the year and find out you're still good enough. And it goes back to even with the players and coaches, like you are good enough. I think the schools in the SWAC are good enough. I think the players in our league are good enough. I just think there's a lot of people that are good enough. So instead of saying that they can't do it and this and that, we're good enough. You're good enough to do a podcast or do a Zoom call at a higher place. Or if it was another, what's that one school? Was it Barstool?
Yeah.
Like,
Barstool, yeah.
in your mind, I'm good enough to work at Barstool. That's what I would tell yourself. Like, I'm good enough to work there. Now, I might not have the call and they might not call me right now, but I'm good enough to work there. So I think that's just kind of the message that I would like to probably leave with is just that you are good enough. And even though when things are saying that you're not, and you can't, you are good enough to overcome or do whatever situation you want to at hand, I think.
Yeah, I'm just ready. For me, covering the entire FCS, I'm just ready for a SWAC team to get in and win. Someone's got to be the first one.
Yep.
And as soon as that first win happens, I think that's when the floodgates. Because
Yep.
once you get over the hump, because when you was looking at what I think it's 0-23 or 24 now, that's tough to overcome. That is just a really bad statistic. And I just think if someone can go in there, whether it's FAM, whether it's you guys,
Yep.
because I know Southern Grambling can never go because of the Bayou Classic, but if it's Jackson, FAM, you guys, Alcorn State, someone just has to go and do it. And if someone can go break that streak, man, I really do think that the narrative could change. Because I think when you look at a lot of the other FCS schools and that's the thing with FCS, it's such a niche market that Incarnate Word fans aren't watching Jackson State. Jackson State fans aren't watching Sanford, vice versa. And so when, with a show like mine being national, I think you have a lot of fans who tune in and they're starting to learn. Like when Lindsey Scott broke out, nobody knew who he was unless you were a Nicholls State fan.
Right. And we won against him twice, and we did a good job with him, but we did a good job against him. But man, he dominated. I do agree. I think, and that's what makes it weird about FCS. Like they do all these FCS All Americans, but you just said it. Like no one even watches the games. So how do you know who's good and not good? So
Yep.
that's always a little shaky and a little shady. But you're right. I think how you overcome it is like you say, you just got to get somebody to win. It's the same thing with like now HBCUs are like everyone's loving it on Twitter about how the football is and stuff like that. That's because they just tuned in. So I
Yep.
do agree with you. I think it just takes one to kind of set it like, oh, okay, they're good now. I think that's what's going to change the mindset.
And I'm glad you mentioned the All American teams. That's why we started dropping ours because I try to watch all the conferences and I'll cover a lot of different teams. But man, some of them, not calling anyone out, they're all my guys. But I'm looking at some guys. I'm like, he's a first team All American. Like,
Well, because it goes back to your politics. Like some guys just happen to be on the front end of like they were already a first team and they were already this. Like it just sometimes it's easy to just pick the guy that everybody's picking instead of just saying, "Damn, I watched this game a couple times and this guy was pretty good." Like
well, corners and offensive linemen are
are
not even just corners, just defensive backs in general and offensive linemen are the ones that frustrate me because me playing offensive line, I look at it from a different perspective and it's like just because the politics, and this, if you're a senior and you were previously all conference or all American, you get first dibs
yep,
the next year. And they're not going to put a freshman up there. But for me, I don't care what year you are. If this freshman outplayed this senior who's a two-time All-American, that guy should be the All-American, not the senior just because he has the name. And that was like for me so frustrating. Like defensive backs like Maxwell Anderson on one all was left off of All-American list and was third team on another. And I was like, the dude was a candidate for the Buck Buchanan for 10 weeks out of the year, but he's not an All-American.
yeah. That's because like you said, they don't watch, they don't know. I think it's just easy to take the easy way out. That's where the politics side comes. Like if you're on the front end of it, you love it as a player. You love it because it don't
Yeah.
matter how you perform, you're gonna be All American. So I do agree. I think that's what makes it weird is that no one's really watching. They just going off of he might have 100 tackles and the other guy was I don't know 105, and they think they all might give it to the 105 guy, but the guy with the 100 tackles is probably a better player. So it's just weird.
Yep.
I do agree with you.
It's crazy, man. But coach, I appreciate you. Like I said, man, an hour on a show, in the middle of recruiting season, right for National Signing Day. There's not a lot of coaches that would have done this. So I definitely appreciate you. We're gonna have to get you back on the show during the season, man. I definitely break down some film, kind of what's going on with Texas Southern throughout the season and catch back up. But guys, make sure to go follow Coach DG on all social media, man. Keep up with what's happening in Texas Southern. You can tune into the channel for all SWAC football coverage throughout the season. We're getting to National Signing Day next Tuesday, and it's going to be an exciting day. I'm a recruiting guy, so I cannot wait. But guys, for Coach DG, for myself, and for the Blue Bloods, we are out for right now.